Hi everyone, good evening, a very good evening to everyone who is logging into the Facebook. Welcome to the Stiletto Foodie show with Ethel Da Costa. Today is episode 6. We have something very interesting to talk about, to share. I think it is the mood of August. It is the flavor of the month. It has such beautiful legends and stories attached to it. I am completely blown away, actually, when I sat down to to write and to find out what it was all about. My home is full of mooncakes sent to me by friends in Malaysia. I'm completely fascinated by the different kind of avatars of mooncakes that I'm also looking and tasting and having a sense of what it's all about. So welcome to the Stiletto Foodie show with Ethel Da Costa. Today's episode 6, and you're on the Stiletto Foodie page on Facebook. So while I wait for you to come and join in, to find the page wherever that you are, whichever country that you are from logging into, I'm going to take you a little a backstory to it, as in like, what is the Mooncake Festival all about? Why is the Mid-Autumn Festival in Malaysia and in Southeast Asia so special? I'm also on a detox because I think I've been overdoing on the food. So a little yogurt, to to cool my systems down, to make sure that I don't binge and overdo. So that's what I've been doing. The week has been fantastic for me because I have been on a detox, to as I said, to make sure that whatever that I feasted on in Labuan for 3 months is now being neutralized. In the meantime, when the Mooncake Festival is on August, month of August, and it goes on to the month of September, I have some very interesting, discoveries or on my food roams in Malaysia. I stumbled upon this particular. It's very boutique, a boutique brand called J Love Pastries. It is run by this cute little lady who I met called Joyce Lu. And Joyce Lu has been doing these mooncakes for quite some time now. I have something called the tiramisu, baked coffee tiramisu mooncake. I'm waiting to bite into it, just freshly done today, and it was sent to me. So Joyce Lu of J Love, not to mistake with J Lo. J Love has all these kind of very very cute little mooncakes that she does for J Love Pastries. This is the matcha snow matcha red bean mooncake, all done by hand, not factory done or not machine done. All are organic, low on sugar, no preservatives, which means you have to eat them up fast or keep them in the fridge so that they don't get spoiled. No artificial coloring used, as Joyce told me, and because they are freshly baked, you can host a tea party and just finish them up, just like that. So thank you, Joyce, for sending me this cute little box. I love the packaging because this is how it came. I think I'm liking more and more, the Mid Autumn Festival. So that's how it looks, and it holds 4 big, huge size mooncakes in it. What I'm also going to showcase today on the show is pineapple tarts. I don't know if you can see it correctly, properly with the light. Pineapple tarts is done by Swee Bee by Baker Dave. Again, a very authentic bakery, which was established in 1982. David Wong's story, who's a guest, coming onto the show, is fascinating. What I'm really amazed is how people follow their passions through and through by giving up, corporate jobs, by giving up the rat race, and just coming in to do what really resonates with their heart. So that is the story of David Wong, who will come shortly onto the show. I can see friends joining in. I can see the comments also happening saying, hi, Ethel, hi, and welcome to the Stiletto Foodie show. I'm going to wait for a little longer to kind of have you all joining in and finding the page and saying hello as it happens in. So Celine Lim has already joined in. Thank you, Celine, for joining in. I can see Tony Wong. Yes, thank you. Thank you for joining in. Let me just figure out on the Facebook page what's happening here. Give me just a minute. Great. So yes. So we have friends joining in, and I can see the comment section is already buzzing. I love it. I love it. The fact that that everybody comes in dot at 7 o'clock. It kind of really shows me you are as enthusiastic about the show as I am curating it and hosting it. So great. So let me start. Let me start and introduce a very special guest who comes on onto the Stiletto Foodie show, episode 6. It gives me great pleasure to introduce David Wong of Swee Bee by Baker Dave. David Wong, from my back, offline conversations with him, is a complete gentleman. In fact, both my guests today are complete, thorough gentlemen, very old school. Are doing their own bit to keep old traditions alive through their own food narrative, and I love that. I love people who kind of who get so much of inspiration from from the old times, and then kind of repackage it by keeping the authenticity of it alive in whatever that they're doing through their own food stories. So it gives me great pleasure to welcome David Wong of Swee Bee by Baker Dave. David has been part of the family-run enterprise since 1982. As I said, he gave up his corporate job and joined a family baking business full time. Very passionate in keeping the traditional, heritage-inspired Malaysian sweets, desserts, and of course mooncakes, because that is the spotlight and star of our Stiletto Foodie show today, mooncakes. David, from my conversation with him, absolutely shuns the commercialization of tradition for profit, as he calls it, which has endeared him to his customers, his fans, and the local industry. He sent me like a huge big, his own mooncake kind of, offering to me. And with a back-end story to it. It was so beautifully kind of done, packaged. David Wong will himself show you, how it all looks and how it all kind of, what the entire story to Swee Bee is all about. And since I can see the comments section already buzzing, thank you for joining in and staying on to the show. Let me just get David online. Hey, David.
Hello. Hello. Thank you, Ethel. Thank you, Ethel. Good evening. Thank you for having me.
Good evening to have you. It's my pleasure, actually, to have you onto the Stiletto Foodie show, episode 6. It is very special to me and to you too, because our story today is on mooncakes.
Mm-hmm.
And
Mm-hmm.
and as I was telling you, in our conversation and chat, having read about it, I was completely, fascinated, intrigued, and kind of fell in love with it. As I said, I'm a very old-fashioned, true blue, believer in love, eternal love, correct?
Yes,
And
definitely.
yeah, and having read the stories to the mooncake legends, which is very popular in China and across Southeast Asia, I sat down to kind of even write about it, and we're going to hear more from you, onto the mooncake legends and the fascinating story that also you find it so dear to your heart. So
Mm-hmm.
let's get on to it, David. Let's jump straight into the show, and talk about mooncakes and the Mid Autumn Festival, which is so romantic, completely romantic. And as I said, I'm an old school believer. You're an old school believer too. That's what
Mm-hmm.
I found out. Tell us, how did the Swee Bee's story start?
Okay. Actually, Swee Bee that you can see, Swee Bee. Swee
Hmm.
Bee actually is my mom's name. And
Oh.
and yes. And why I want to brand it as Swee Bee is because from young as a child, when I started to get exposed to baking, it's actually from my mom, Swee
Mm-hmm.
Bee. She's the one who started to do baking, and I'm supposed to kind of help her to do the baking. That's where the passions and the seed is being implanted in me. So that's how it
Oh,
started
yeah.
my interest and passion about baking. Yeah.
Yes.
So that's where it started as in 1982 when my mom started to do year in year out. She does all the baking of nyonya kueh, pineapple tarts. So that is where I
Mm.
started to have that kind of inclination of helping, and then it turned into a career now.
Right. So you gave up your corporate job to join in full time, right? The family
No,
enterprise.
actually, the my mom is actually she's a career woman. She's actually a tailor, so she only
Oh,
bakes she only bakes during her off time.
uh-huh.
Like festive season, she do the pineapple tarts, and then she'll bake for us during our for our own consumption. So
Mm.
I only took up her recipe is after I quit my corporate job. That was in 2009.
Okay. Okay.
2009
Wow.
yeah, I quit my corporate job, and then when I was so-called soul searching, then after I came after traveling and all over, and I came back, and that's where I
Mm.
started to know, so what's next, what should I do next. That's where
Yes.
I started to say, okay, back to where my core is, back to
Yes.
where I know what is the best, which is baking. So that's when
Mm.
I started to know, mom, can I have your pineapple tart recipe? So
Right.
that's from
Correct.
from there on. Then I started to bake pineapple tarts to sell. So that's how I started to venture into F&B business.
That was very brave, David, to kind of give up
Thank
a
you.
corporate job and to go full time into being a baker. I think that's the right
Yeah,
word for it, right? Yeah, to become a
correct.
baker. Yeah.
Hmm.
So the Mooncake Festival or the Mid Autumn Festival is so romantic, and so and has so much roots, in old tradition, right?
Hmm.
As I was saying, having read about it, I'm completely in love, with the stories that I've been, reading and sharing it even on my website and things like that. Which is your favorite mooncake legend and why, David? Let's hear it from you.
Oh, definitely. As you mentioned earlier, it's all about love.
Yes.
Love. The favorite story is all about this between the legend, the folklore is between Chang'e and Hao Yi. So
Mm,
this couple, of course, it is the husband is Hao Yi. He's a brilliant archer. So during
yes.
that time, there's a so-called they have 10 moons over the earth.
Mm.
So
Ten
because he
Sun.
is ten sun,
Ten
sorry, ten
Sun.
sun. Thank you for
Yes.
correcting me. Yeah, ten
Ten
sun
Sun.
over the earth, over the earth. So he is a very brilliant archer. So he shot down 9 sun.
Mm.
Yeah, and because
Yes.
of that, he has saved the people from the heat of the sun. So
Yes.
as a reward, so he received an what they call it elixir from elixir of mortality. So,
Mm.
however, this is only given one piece.
Yes.
Okay, so because of that, it's only one single piece. So he and his wife, do not want to leave each other. So they kept
Mm.
the elixir with them. So
Yes.
one day, a thief come to try to steal the elixir from the family. So
Mm.
Chang'e, in order to save the elixir, so she took it herself.
Yes.
So that's when she becomes a goddess, and she flew to the moon.
To the
So
moon.
leaving the husband behind. So
Yes.
yeah. So this is
Yeah.
all about protecting the love. So that's where the husband started to make moon cakes, in
Mm.
order to remember his wife.
As an
That's
offering
yeah,
to her.
yeah, as an
As an
offering,
offering to her.
to
Yes.
the moon, because she flew to the moon.
Correct. Yeah.
So this
And
is
and
this
and that is how I think she's called the goddess of the moon, right?
correct.
Yes, correct. Yeah. Wow. When I read the story, I had tears in my eyes because, as I said, I'm way too old fashioned, to be in this particular 21st century where love is just, what I was talking about, right? The old, people gave up their lives for each other. That is the kind of love I think, the world needs back, true love and a love that makes sacrifices the way Chang'e did, and and then leaving it all behind, for the husband to kind of, to look
True.
at her and, to miss her so much. Oh my God, completely, I loved it. And then there are also the other legends, the rabbit, who is
Mm-hmm.
now Ganga's, companion, because he offered himself as sacrifice, to the
Yes.
king of heaven, and that the other famous story about this gentleman who was very lazy, and the god of heaven tried, tested him and gave him this task of cutting the cherry blossom tree to achieve immortality. And, and he keeps cutting the tree till today, and it can be seen on the, on the moon, right? Fascinating, fascinating. So the entire storytelling, David, is
Mm-hmm.
also what you're trying to keep alive, to what you are doing with your mooncakes, correct?
Yes. Yes. Okay. So this is actually what we're trying to do is to keep the tradition, the
Mm,
culture,
mm,
where we are from, So this is all about things being passed down from
yes,
generation to generation. It's just like my
correct.
mom's recipe, If I
Yes,
were not being exposed in baking, if I were to
yes,
keep out from the kitchen, then her recipe will be, there, will be
yeah,
gone. There's nobody going to will know about it. So because
yes,
of this, I always wanted to keep these kind of things alive, be it whether you practice it, all the knowledge of having the seed traditionals or the folklores or the tales about the culture and the origin of the where you come from. That is very
correct.
important. Where is your roots? You
Yes,
can be born in anywhere around the world, but the
yes,
roots of your forefathers and your great grandparents is where that is where you have to have that in yourself.
yes, yeah. And I
Mm.
think that's a way you could pass it on to the next younger generation in the
Correct.
homes too, right?
Yeah.
Correct.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, okay. So on that note, let's get some comments. There are friends who have joined in to the show. So this is Celine saying, "Hello, Ethel. Hello, Celine. Thank you for joining us." There is also Tony Wong who's saying, "Hello, Ethel. Hello. Really great to have all of you joining to the show." And there's also Miss Hon who's saying, "Hello. Thank you. Thank you for joining us. And I hope all of you either have a cup of tea or a moon cake with you as the show progresses, because I think that is such a awesome way of, of also sharing, being part of the conversation. We have Tony Wong who's saying, "Hi, David."
Hi, Tony.
Yeah.
Hi, Miss Horn.
Yes, we have Faisal Raju from Bangladesh, who faithfully joins in the show every Friday. Yes, Friday, every Friday he's there. Thank you, Faisal. Thank you for joining in. Yes, as I promised you, Bangladesh will soon be on the show as well. And I think it's also time to also have stories from Bangladesh also happening onto the Stiletto Foodie show. Yes, we have again saying hi, David,
Hello.
onto the show too. So great, great buzz. I can see the comment section buzzing. I love the fact that, we have so many of our mutual friends joining in. They're also saying, David and Ethel, both looking good. Of course. Of course, that
Thank
goes
you.
without saying. Yeah, it goes without saying. That is the idea, to make it look, to make it look attractive, to have, all our friends from different parts of the world who are joining in to also say, hey, the Stiletto Foodie show also rocks, right?
Yeah,
On this
definitely.
note, yeah, on this note, let's get our other guest online with us. We have another very awesome friend of mine joining us from India, Mumbai. So my goal, David, is to kind of bridge Malaysia and India together. And what better way to do it than through stories of food telling? Like I keep saying,
Mm,
food for world peace. If we use
agreed.
that, yeah, I agree too, because that is the only way I think, every citizen across the planet can come together, talk about food, and say, okay, forget differences of whatever, right? And say, that we can, unite each other through our food stories. So it is a huge pleasure for me to welcome Chef Abhishekh Basu, Executive Chef at the JW Marriott, Juhu, Mumbai, India. As I said, he's an old friend of mine. He has been very dynamic in what he does. What also kind of surprised me, and very pleasantly so, is that he's trying to introduce the Mid Autumn Festival concept in Mumbai, which I think is awesome, isn't it, David?
Wow, wow, yes,
Yeah.
that's a good
So
idea.
it's a great idea to kind of also introduce, other cultures, other stories that are not inherently Indian to an audience, that can appreciate food culture, right? So that is what
Mhm.
Chef Abhishekh Basu is trying to do, with his own Mid Autumn Festival. We will soon hear from him, how the story came about and how the idea has come about. Chef Abhishekh Basu has worked with celebrated chefs like Antonio Carluccio, Bomra Jap, Willie Wilson, Andrea Sposini, if I'm pronouncing correctly, of the Cordon Bleu. He has successfully represented India through different menus and workshops in India and internationally. So he keeps taking the Indian food culture, wherever he travels abroad to, or wherever he gets invited to showcase India and Indian food. Chef Abhishek Basu has won several awards. I was amazed when I was reading his bio. Most prominent and noteworthy is the Young Talent of the Year that he was given by BW Hotelier at the Indian Hospitality Awards. He has also represented India in Iceland for the Mahatma Gandhi 150th anniversary. His CV reads
Wow,
long. Yeah, his CV reads
wow.
long. I've just picked up, spotlights which I thought, we could share with our audience. Let's get Chef Abhishek Basu online all the way from Mumbai, India. And there you are.
Hello, everyone.
Hello.
Hi, how are
Good.
you all doing?
We are all doing great. Good evening, Chef Abhishek,
Good
and
evening.
welcome to the Stiletto Foodie Show.
It is a pleasure to be at the Stiletto Foodie Show. Mr. Thel, Mr. David, so nice to see you all. Am I getting it correct? It is called Salamat Futong. Is it? Did I get it correct? Is it good evening in Malaysia?
It
Selamat
is good
petang.
evening. Salamat
Salamat.
Patang.
Yeah, Patang, Patang. Okay, okay, I got it right. I got it right. So it's definitely, it's great to see you all, and I was hearing all the conversations. Yes, let's get started.
Let's get started. Yeah. So Chef Abhishek, for you to, to introduce the Mid Autumn Festival in Mumbai is awesome. I will be like completely, uh, kind of taken aback first of all, and in a very pleasant manner that, because all of us know, how hard you've been working in the sustainability program in introducing new kind of food stories and food cultural narrations, right? Through your own, organic, regional cuisines that you've been doing. How did this idea come about for you to do this in Mumbai?
So I think I would say that post COVID, everybody wanted to come together, right? And
Mm.
countries were opening up, cities were opening up. Everybody wanted to meet each other. So we
Yes.
were looking at various reasons of how do we get everybody together. So the
Mm.
main thing we saw is in India, this is the starting of the season of all our celebrations, actually, if you see. So,
Yes.
15th August was our independence, followed by Onam, followed by Raksha Bandhan in India. Then we wanted to add and bring in various communities. So, we thought that why don't we introduce the Mid Autumn Festival, which is already such a huge thing in Malaysia, in Vietnam, in China, and let's see what the festival is all about. There's so much of tradition with it. There's such lovely mooncakes with it. So that's how we came up with this idea. Of course, once this is over, we go into Oktoberfest. We don't leave our
Mm.
beer. The beer is also there. Very
Sure.
important for us.
Yes.
So yeah, so we wanted to just continue the celebrations, and
Yes.
hopefully everybody stays fine. Everybody keeps in good health. So yeah,
Correct.
embracing another, I would say, we would like to embrace another tradition, another culture, see what they have to offer, and
Hmm.
go with the flow, enjoy what they are offering.
Yes. Fantastic, right, David? Fantastic. We were just,
Fantastic. Yes, it's such a good idea. It's feeling so festive now. With all the
Yes.
ideas
Yeah.
lining up.
Correct. Yeah, that's very true. Chef Abhishek, do you have your mooncakes with you to show us? Oh, okay. Okay.
This is the kind of box. Let me show you the box. Let me stand
Yes.
up. I will show you. So this is the packaging. You can
Okay.
see now if I'm getting the camera right. So this is the packaging. It's a big wooden box that we have put in. So yeah, of course, we have kept it little traditional. David,
Mhm.
I'm not as so I heard about J-Lo, who is
Yes.
doing the tiramisu one. So I have red bean, of
J
course,
Love. J Love.
J-Lo, right? The tiramisu one. I
Yes.
want to try that. Of course, I have
Yes.
coconut, matcha and coconut, which is
Okay.
yeah, and of course, I have mud chocolate. So I'll
Mm.
definitely open it and show it to you all.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah.
So we
Oh,
are
lovely.
trying. We are not
Wow.
as good
Wow.
as what David is doing or J Love is doing, but we are trying.
Yes.
So
Of
let's
course.
see. So yeah, of course, and definitely we have the mixed nuts one also with
Mm.
hazelnuts and different
Okay.
kinds of seeds. So we have kept about four of them as of now
Mm.
to
Okay.
start off, and let's see, how it picks up because I'm sure that people are going to slowly understand what they require. A lot of
That's right.
people have shown interest; they want to
Lovely.
taste what it is, and like
Lovely.
like me, I would also admit to the fact that I didn't know much about mooncakes, but
Okay.
I read about it. I spoke to my friends, and of course, David already has spoken so much about the theory of love. I
Yeah.
love the theory of the rabbit,
Yes.
who was yeah. So these stories,
Yeah.
this folklore that we call, I
Correct.
think we all learned, and it's great to learn about another culture, learn about traditions.
Correct. Yes. Yeah.
Yes,
Absolutely great.
fantastic.
Awesome. Really awesome. And then I guess in a way, Chef Abhishek, you also kind of, educate,
Yes,
your own friends and fans, right? Into somebody
right,
else's food culture. Yeah.
correct, correct.
Awesome. David, can we see your mooncakes?
Oh yes, of course. Here,
How?
this
That's
this
the
is my
packaging.
packaging. This is my
Yes.
packaging. So these are the traditional lanterns that we as a kids,
Mm.
we carry this around, at night, while the moon is full moon on the 15th. So this is the paper lanterns, the traditional paper lanterns. So this
Okay.
is packaging, and then it's open up this.
Oh,
Yeah,
wow. Yes.
yeah. So
Put the
this is
story on
the
it.
description of the products, the three products we
Mm.
have, and this is the product itself. We have three
Wow.
flavors. There are three flavors. Yeah. So basically, is of course the this one will be the white lotus,
Mm.
White
white
lotus.
lotus, white lotus. Yes, white lotus. But what is special about our mooncake is that because we incorporated pineapple paste in it.
Yeah.
So it's something that is different, and also first in Malaysia that we have this, pineapple mooncake. The reason I incorporate the pineapple is because in order to tie back that my core product is pineapple tarts. So I'm
Correct.
Okay,
making something
pineapple
special.
tarts. Oh yeah, okay,
Yeah.
pineapple tarts. That's how you came up with pineapple mooncake, right?
Yes, that's right. So there's
So
the
I'm.
next one. The next one is
I-
the pandan
Hmm.
lotus. So again, pandan is also a very very traditional, very very unique to Asian culture. Pandan, screw pine, and of course none other than our specialties, the pineapple mooncake.
Which I'm eating right now,
So
Okay.
you have
and I
David.
love
You
it.
have pineapple. You have pandan, and the third one is
No, I have the lotus, the white lotus,
the white lotus, the
the white
pineapple, and
lotus.
the pandan. Oh, fantastic.
Yes. Yep. So white lotus pandan. Sorry, white lotus pineapple,
Hmm.
pandan pineapple, and also pineapple.
Okay,
So I have
okay,
three flavors.
great.
Yeah.
And it tastes awesome. I was eating the pineapple one, David. Really, really good. Really
Thank
good.
you. Thank you.
Really good. So,
Yep.
Abhishek,
Yes,
your entire sustainability mission, right?
right, right.
Because you are so passionate about it, and there's a whole kind of history that follows you, in, wherever that you move in the hospitality industry. Can you tell us something about that, and the importance of driving the farm to table concept? Also, your entire core belief on food wastage. I was telling David about such a core principle, right? To make sure that food is how do you call it, respected. Because we have such a huge population in India that still doesn't have access to three
Right.
square meals a day, right? I would like to hear your take on that.
So I think I was introduced to farmers markets, or I would say sustainability, about 7 years back.
Hmm.
Before that, I was good old chef who used to, I would say, I always had access to a lot of produce in the kitchen, of course. And you need to respect whatever produce that you get. So I met a bunch of farmers about 7 years back in Delhi,
Hmm.
and I've actually visited their farms. And if you actually go and see the amount of effort which goes into producing a small little thing, you will actually feel extremely bad to even throw a small part of it out also. So
Yes.
that's how the whole thing started. And luckily, this lady, Miss Snehi Yadav, who used to run this Delhi organic farmers market,
Hmm.
she said that why don't we collaborate, and we started having small farmers market at our hotels. So it started becoming quite big. Then we started joining it with various kind of festivals. So like, you know I'm not talking about festivals which has got to do with any kind of culture. It has got more to do with seasons. So
Hmm. Hmm.
in India you have something like, we have monsoon, you have summers. In India
Yes.
we call it like savan. We call it like summers. Here it is called garmi ka season. So you
Hmm.
have various kinds of seasons in India. Once you have these seasons, the produce automatically changes. So
Hmm.
it is not the chef who kind of decides, what is supposed to be on the menu.
Right.
It is farmer who actually decides what is supposed to be on the menu, which is, I think, the right way of looking at it. Because we
Yes.
continuously sometimes keep pushing our farmers, that
Hmm.
I want this, I want that, I want this. We might want a lot of things, but I think nature's bounty is something that you need to respect, right?
Correct.
If I say that, if you see seasonal produce also in
Hmm.
India, you get the best tender coconut during summers.
Hmm.
And if we see, you are from Goa, you know exactly, the best tender coconut comes out in April, May, June, where you have the maximum amount of, what I would say, the juice, the liquid is there. And
Yes.
you get it because your body needs it.
Hmm.
You need that hydration during summers. Similarly, when you come around August, September, when the weather kind of changes, you start getting a lot of gooseberry, which we call amla, which is very rich in vitamin C. It
Hmm.
automatically, I mean, nature automatically allows it to be grown, and you don't have to like really put in too much of effort. So that's where you know that your body needs a lot of vitamin C, because otherwise you're going to catch a cough and a cold during change of weather. You're going to be sitting and sipping cold ice water, and you're going to have a bad throat. So
Right.
automatically, nature tells you exactly what you need. So
Yes.
yeah, so that's how this whole thing was taught to me by the farmers.
Hmm.
So
Hmm.
we
Hmm.
pretty much, we pretty much crossed all our menus, and we went back to them and he told them that, why don't you divide the whole year to us in maybe 3 or 4 slots, and
Yes.
tell us exactly when to put what. We
Hmm.
will decide as chefs, as restaurant heads, as whatever, as a community of people who would like to cook their food or cook
Yes.
their produce, that when do we cook what is,
Right.
and to put. And maybe the dishes, you can come up with innovative dishes, but I
Hmm.
think the
Hmm.
dishes should be decided by them. So that's how
Yes.
whole sustainability thing came across. So I think it was a great, and I still keep in touch with them. Of course, I have shifted base from Delhi to Mumbai,
Yes. Mumbai.
but
Right.
wherever we get a chance, I think this is the best way of going ahead. Uh,
Yeah. Wow.
not only for vegetables, I'll say, even with different kinds of cheeses. I think
Hmm.
in India, I did know that there was during one of these farmers market, I came to know that
Hmm.
there is cheese being produced in Kashmir, which is called Kaladi cheese, which nobody knows about. Yeah, there
Right.
is, of course, Manesar in Dehradun, close to Dehradun, which is a hill station, fantastic cheese. And of course, I don't know how many of you all know about Father Michael's Burrata cheese, which is,
Oh no.
so it's
Yeah.
the whole company is called Valambrosa, and Father Michael, of course, is a priest and
Hmm.
based out of Bangalore, and he does the best burrata in Bangalore. And what we learned is when Father Michael was actually training to be a priest in
Hmm.
Italy, is he during his like his hobby, he also learned the art of making cheese. And when he
Ah.
came back to Bangalore,
Yes.
he continued that because that is a passion for him. So he continues to make cheese, great produce,
Hmm.
and
Hmm.
a lot of chefs have been great. I mean, I am very lucky to know him and to be able to use his produce. So I think Father
Okay.
Michael's burrata is famous. I think I had it almost in my menu for about 4 5 years. I,
Wow.
great, yeah.
Which brings me to David.
Yes.
David, how would you say, because as I said, we're talking about the entire farm to table concept, keeping traditions alive, actually going, contributing ourselves, to make sure that we become its messengers, right?
Mhm.
How would you say is the Mid Autumn Festival celebrated in Malaysia?
Traditionally in our family ourselves is that it's again a family
Hmm.
event. We gather together to have a meal together as a family. And of course, if the family itself that has children, then this is where the festive season make it more lively. We
Okay.
light up, using candles to light up lanterns, and then we will play with the candles. We will just put the rows of candles on the floors or on the gates or on the fans. This is another activities among families. We play around, with lantern. We carry lanterns around. Just the neighborhood. We just walk around neighborhood. This is
Yes.
it's all about being together. It's all about
Hmm.
being
Hmm. Hmm.
festivities, being enjoying that particular moment with families, and of course. Keeping the tradition alive will be carrying the lanterns and eating mooncakes. So that is the practice in Malaysia.
Okay, I think your fans who are part of the show today are really pushing the Swee Bee flag. They're saying we love the pandan. I do too. I had a bite of it. I do too.
Thank you, thank you,
Um,
thank
one of
you.
the, one of the best moon cake I've ever tried. So I did the pineapple and I vouch for it. So yes, there's also comments saying that they love your packaging. Well done, David, and all that,
Thank
which is
you.
good. Which is good. It means that it
Because we
resonates.
yeah because we try to keep everything simple and traditional related, because as you were saying, there's also too much commercialization on the part of festivities. you know
Correct.
Moving on, there's a lot of changes in flavors just because we want to be different, just want to be fancy. And the
Yeah.
packaging, they use a lot of non-recyclable material, like aluminum tins, a lot of
Mm,
plastic packaging. So what we try to do is we try to go back, to the core, to the
correct.
basics, to the
Correct.
what we, the our forefathers and our great grandparents, what they consume, what they eat. So we are trying
Mm,
to
mm,
have that ties back again, and be introduced again to let people remember that this is the unique and the traditional taste it's all about, and
correct.
not
Yeah.
going overboard about the taste just to suit, to be creative, just to be different, you
Yes.
know. Yeah. So
And I
this is
think
all.
Chef Abhishek also is doing the same, kind of, doing the same, keeping the same philosophy to what he also does it in India as well. And which kind of, which brings me to this entire idea of how even bringing the Mid Autumn Festival to an Indian audience and making it inclusive, right, Chef Abhishek?
Yes,
Um,
absolutely.
what are the elements of Southeast Asia, personally fascinates you? And I was telling David about the Indianized version of Chinese food in India.
Yeah, of course, yeah, I think there is Indianized version of a lot of things. I remember I was posted in Kerala, which is the southernmost tip of India, in 2011-12. Is
Yes.
That's when I got to know about food in Kerala and all. So of course, I came to know that in Kerala, uh, there was a lot of influence because of trade, right? And
Mm,
the men used to come in, the ships used to come in from all the way from UAE and all, and Iran and everything, and they used to come into Kerala with
correct.
a lot of dry fruits and everything. And Kerala had its bounty of fresh herbs. They had their bounty of fresh spices, which was peppercorn and cardamom and cinnamon and vanilla and everything. So there used to be an exchange and trade and all. And of course, because all these ships there was no jet fighters and there was no no jet planes and all. They used to come by ships. So 40-45 days they used to come in.
Mm,
They used to get married. They used to settle down in Kerala. And that's when this whole tradition of bringing in a different cuisine into Kerala came into being. So in
correct.
Kerala, they say they have this word called mapila. Mapila is
Okay.
basically a son-in-law. So
Oh,
son-in-law actually came in from Iran and brought in this whole concept of a different kind of a biryani and everything in their food.
yes, yes,
Yes,
yes.
and that's how you got this whole cuisine in Kerala called Mopla, which is a
Mm,
derivative of the word Mapila, and Mopla cuisine came into being. So I think even the Chinese, when they came into India,
mm,
uh, they settled in India for various kind of trade and everything, and they brought in their culture. Then they realized that maybe it just needs a little bit of tweaking for everybody to like. So yeah, it was that's how the Indian Chinese version came in. Calcutta,
yes.
the maximum inhabitant actually. I think the Tangra Chinese is there. So yeah, that was very good.
Isn't
Yeah,
it
that's,
beautiful, isn't it?
Sorry.
yeah,
It's just a burst of culture, burst of flavors and
Yes,
colors.
yes, yes. So yeah,
It's just amazing.
it's
right,
completely
right.
amazing. I completely agree. And I think, so on that note, we have also another comment here. See, I like it. I like the fact that, that our audience is so actively invested in the conversation. So, Cecilia says that Mooncake Festival used to be one of the most exciting day for me when I was a kid. We played lantern. I think so. You kind of create your own lanterns and put it up. We sang songs, holding lanterns, walking around the neighborhood. Yes, I love that. It sounds so romantic to me, any which way. With the kind of also local, tradition that is associated with that. Thank you, Cecilia. I know that the pandemic has put a spoke in all our wheels, and none of it, what I'm saying, is
Yes.
happening on ground. But anyway, the moon cakes are all over. They're flying all over the place, and I'm so glad that David and Chef Abhishek are doing their own little spin on it, to kind of ensure that traditions are kept alive, traditions are respected.
Yes.
It's passed
Yes.
down from one generation sitting at home, or growing up in our homes, to the next generation that will also pass down. So, congratulations to both of you, and kudos. It is not an easy task, but both you gentlemen are striving forward. And I said to Chef, Abhishek, to even introduce a Mid Autumn Festival in India is awesome, really awesome. And yeah,
Thank you.
and I said, to also get your hospitality brand to agree to it and to say yes is also very, very commendable. Yeah, very commendable. Is there anything
Yes.
else, besides the mooncakes? Is there any other cuisine that's happening along with it, Chef Abhishek?
So yeah, about 3 to 4 days, we would be offering the delicacies of uh, some of. We'll have to, of course, do a lot of research that what exactly is eaten during the
Hmm.
Mid Autumn Festival. So we are
Hmm.
still, kind of finalizing those, but that would be mostly on 3 days in September. That is 17th,
Yes.
18th, and 19th. So yeah, let's see, if we can run a special menu, because it's all about getting your families together, getting your friends together, having
Yes.
having having a meal together. So let me figure out because it's the first time that even I am doing it. So yeah, any kind of
Mhm.
suggestion from you all, I'm more than happy to hear it. Something that everybody can eat together, enjoy together. I think yes,
Yes.
something like that is something, and of course, a mooncake to maybe end off the meal, or a big platter of mooncake for everybody to enjoy. I think something like that would be perfect. I think, yeah.
Yes,
Correct.
yes.
So,
I
Yeah,
will,
David can suggest. David can suggest.
I would recommend, because traditionally eating mooncake, they will be accompanied with tea, a Chinese
Tea.
tea.
With tea.
Yes,
Yes.
yeah.
What
So
do you all generally, when families come in? What do you all cook? Is there something very traditional that you all cook, or is there like like they call in China, they you have beggars chicken, right? And
yes,
the tradition says that the lady of the house is supposed to, the whole thing is made in, they generally wrap it up in mud, and then they bake it underneath, right, with the heat of
yes.
the earth is when it cooks. And the lady of the house is supposed to take out that whole chicken which is baked in the mud, and
Mm-hmm,
she's supposed to take it, and she's the one, because she brings in good luck for the whole family.
mm-hmm,
So, is
mm-hmm.
there some tradition which I should know, that I should also follow, to be able to, or any particular food that you all prefer to have it during that time? I don't
For Mid Autumn, basically in our home, we don't have a specific dishes that to celebrate the Mid Autumn, but because Mid Autumn itself, basically it's all about the mooncakes and the lanterns, and
know. Right,
the
Yeah.
celebration of the full moon. So that is
right, right.
basically, that is the only thing. But in terms of other meals or other dishes to accompany that, that's all a free will in between
Okay,
families, different from family to family. So there's no specific one that dishes that is must have during Mid Autumn.
right.
Yeah.
I'll keep
So,
in mind. I think I'll have to keep some, maybe a lot of sharing platters, or maybe one pot meals kind of thing. Let's see, something like those.
Mm.
yeah, correct. And I think it's more a tea time occasion for the moon
Right.
cakes or whatever that I'm reading, where the family all comes together. I think there's a
Yeah.
prayer saying, a prayer said for Chang Ai, right?
Chang'e.
If Changa, I got the pronunciation correct. And the family sits together, and there's a prayer done for blessings of bounty, a bountiful harvest. For
Yes.
good
Yes.
graces, for prosperity. I'm telling you, Abhishek, I think I'm already half Chinese because I'm fascinated. I'm fascinated with the storytelling that food allows, right? And I think that's why I have to kind of keep asking David. David, what is your contribution? What is your contribution in keeping this particular tradition alive, and why? Why do you feel the need for it?
The reason I feel the need is because, as you said, you try to, ask a few friends about Mooncake Festival, that,
Hmm.
none of them realize what is the story behind. So I
Yes,
believe that this one, as I said, we need to emphasize on telling more people, telling people that around us, our
right.
circle of friends, that, what is this festival about, be it Chinese festivals, or be it the
Hmm.
Indian festivals, uh, these are things that we need to really share. The more we share, the more we tell, then the more people will know.
Yes,
Even like for Indian festivities, the Pongal festivities, the Deepavali, how it comes about, why
yes.
it comes about, and what is being celebrated. So these are the things that we, as perhaps I felt that being a Malaysian, we are
Hmm.
so multicultural, yet
Hmm.
we hardly knows the details of each other races festivities.
Yes, yes,
Only the main one that we know, but those that is the smaller celebrations, nobody knows about it. So with that,
yes.
I feel that we should have what they call that, a platform that we should emphasize, each other's tell their folklore, each other tells what they knows about their
Correct.
culture, what has been practiced, in their home, because
Yes.
each culture itself, whether it's different dialects, because Chinese we have, like of South Indian also, they have their different dialects. Each of
Hmm.
them, they have different practices, be
Right,
it
right.
weddings, be it festivities, be it day to day practice. It's all different. So
Yes,
we should have a platform that to be able to share this, to all, that all of
correct,
us can learn each other and be exposed to all this knowledge.
correct.
So this will be a wonderful thing.
Like I must mention this to Chef Abhishek. Onam and Diwali are so popular in Malaysia. Very
Oh,
popular in Malaysia.
Yeah,
Yes,
yeah,
great,
yeah.
great.
yes.
For Onam also, the Indian restaurants which are here, there are a lot of Indian restaurants.
Right.
And Indian food is quite loved, very loved in Malaysia. You
Mm.
will actually have the whole Onam Sandhya, you call it, right? Sandhya.
Sadhya, Sadhya.
Yeah, the whole thing, is there because I've seen it, where Kerala banana leaf restaurants will put the whole flair
Oh,
out.
wow.
And yes, and it is enjoyed by Malaysians,
Yes.
Chinese, and of course Indians, and the expat community too. So yes, I think the idea of celebrating each other's cuisine and traditions and culture is so important today.
Mm.
So Chef Abhishek, as somebody who's young and dynamic, the onus also falls on your shoulders to make sure that you continue, right? To create like
Great.
a continuity where, irrespective of where you are, where you work, or with whom you work, right?
Correct.
Um, uh, can you share a few of your, say, this is to Chef Abhishek, what kind of really keeps you going in terms of your food, how do you call it, your food explorations? There must be something, that kind of triggers you, right? To get into
I,
the unknown.
I think, I love to meet people who keep, even guests, who keep challenging your status quo.
Hmm.
Because if you're not ready to explore, or if you're not ready to open your mind and understand what other cultures, or other different cuisines have to offer, then
Yes,
that is where the problem lies. You should always be ready to experiment what other cuisines have to offer. Like you
yes.
said, like an Onam Sadhya. So
Hmm.
that is something that I never grew up with, but you learned in due course of time, and of course, you improvise on it and see what can be done with it. Like
Yeah.
in when I was posted up north, which was in Delhi, I didn't know much about Parsi food. But
Hmm.
come down to Mumbai, you have a huge population of Parsis, and in fact, I got a chance to work with a couple of home chefs just
Okay.
about a couple of weeks back. Her name is Parizad. So she taught me a lot of things about Parsi cuisine, and how the Zoroastrians actually see their food, what is different in their masalas, what is different in their spices. So I think you have to keep yourself very open. So
Yes.
that is one of the major
Okay.
ethos in, I think, anybody who is got the passion to cook. You don't have to be a
Correct.
chef to have the passion to cook. I think
Agree.
anybody can cook, right?
Yes.
Anybody who has the love for food, and anybody who
Yes.
has love to feed others and himself, of course, herself, uh, can I would consider them to be chefs. You don't have to have like a professional degree only to have a restaurant, or get into food business, or be part of the restaurant industry. I think anybody who has a love for food, who enjoys eating, enjoys the fact that you're feeding people, sees
Hmm.
that joy others eat, and they enjoy food. I think for them it's very important to keep exploring.
Correct.
Travel, I know, I think it's not the best time for me to say that, keep traveling. I think, travels
Agree.
really help, really
Agree.
help. You
Yes.
go to five different places, you get to see five different things, and it's very important to keep an open mind and try those things. So
Right.
yeah.
Yes.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So in Malaysia, Chef Abhishek, the most of the homegrown food entrepreneurs are all homegrown food entrepreneurs. They have never been to a hospitality degree. They don't have hospitality degrees or been to a college, right? In that,
Yes.
where you learn. They are all carrying forward their family recipes,
Yeah,
You're
that's
right.
great. That's great. Yes.
including Indian home-run restaurants. You'll have
Wow.
food from Kerala and quite a thriving food culture, Kerala food culture in Malaysia. South Indian food from Tamil Nadu. I've yet to see Goan food, but then Chef Avinash, who was on my show last Friday, said he wants to come and do a pop-up.
Right.
So,
Well,
yeah. So when you come, to Malaysia, I will personally take you around. It is
oh,
a
fine.
thriving food culture. I'm sure even David agrees to that, right?
Yes.
A thriving food culture of Indian food, different
Yes.
variations even of Kerala and Tamil Nadu food is awesome. You also have Punjabi food or the North Indian food, correct? And
Correct.
but they're all beautifully, how do you call it? Adapted to Malaysia and Malaysia's palate, right? Which I think, like how the Indian version of the Chinese food that happens in
Right.
Mumbai, you know. So you find those kind of versions that happen in
Right.
Malaysia, and I myself personally believe I was never a food writer in India at all, you know. And suddenly I came to Malaysia, and it was like I was hit by a brick, sort of, the whole palate just my whole palate just activated, completely activated. And here I'm writing about food in books, in my blogs, and hosting a food show. I mean, come on. That's the thing about travel. I think,
Yes.
what travel does to us, right?
Yes. Agreed. Agreed.
Yes, yeah, I agree too. And we have, as I said, food for world peace. I keep saying that, food for world peace. Our friends also agree who are onto the show. They're saying thanks for telling us the mooncake story. See, I'm telling you, a lot of people did not know the story, and
Yes.
I'm so glad that we've added on to it. So she says, thanks. Tony says, thanks for telling us the mooncake story. I learned so much about the Mid Autumn Festival, so much by attending the live show. Well done, guys. Thank you, Tony. Thank you for attending. We have another comment which says, food brings us closer. You
Oh,
bet.
that
Yeah.
definitely. That's true. Absolutely. And also,
Yeah.
it's all about, actually, the essence is all about love, just like the chef said,
Yes.
if you don't have the love of cooking, it
Yes.
doesn't work. It
It
doesn't
doesn't
work
work.
at all. Yeah. Whether it is cooking, whether it is writing, whether it is teaching, it's all about the love and the passion in it.
Correct.
You must have that essence. Then with that seed itself, you do wonders.
Yes. Let me also go a step further, since we are talking about love. For me, food is a big, huge turn on. If somebody enjoys food the way I do, with all of my senses, it's a very spiritual experience for me as well. And I love the fact that I think it's a blessing, if you know what I'm saying,
Yeah,
to be able
definitely.
to have this experience, with food and make it so experiential for myself. And then to also understand from the chef's point of view, which is so important, no? To understand what he or she feels when, when that food is being cooked.
Yeah,
Is it cooking from his soul? Is it just cooking for the sake of cooking? What really
correct.
is going on? And the food will just tell you that. It's like energy. Energy
Yeah,
never lies. Food doesn't
absolutely.
lie either. Food doesn't lie either. This was great. This was absolutely awesome. It was a great 60 minutes of sitting down and chatting about Mooncake Festival, about the Mid Autumn Festival, what David is doing in his own way, what Chef Abhishek is doing in his own way in India. It is my mission to bridge Malaysia and India together through whatever that I'm doing, correct? By being, I think, so positioned between, so to say, the ocean, and to have the stories happening. So thank you. Thank you, David, for making the time and sharing all your insights today with us. Thank you, Chef Abhishek, for also making the time, you
Yeah,
know,
Thank you so much.
and being part of the show. I'm sure that everybody who is part of your food circles, whether they're foodies or family or even your own peers, right? There's a lot to learn from you because you're very inspiring, Chef Abhishek. And I love the fact I've
definitely.
seen you in action. I've seen you in action at the Tasting India Symposium too. All there, by celebrating regional cuisine, which is so required today. So required today. So thank you. And congratulations to you both.
Thank you
Thank
so
you.
much. Thank you,
Thank you.
David. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Chef. Thank you, Chef. Such a
Thank you.
pleasure to hear from you. You do so much
Yes.
about interculture kind of thing, introducing new things to your own country. Fantastic. Thank you so
Yes,
much.
Thank
yes.
you. Thank you so much.
I have lots of mooncakes at home to eat, and I'm supposed to be on a diet actually. So I don't know what's going to happen. But thank you. Thank
Thank you.
you to David. Thank you
Pleasure.
to Joyce as well for sending me, her versions of mooncakes. It's going to be a mooncake weekend for me. And on that note, I'm going to say thank you to David and thank you to Chef Abhishek for joining us
Thank you.
and being part of this beautiful, Stiletto Foodie show. Thank you. Have a
Thank you.
Thank you
great
so
night
much.
and a
Thank
good
you so
weekend.
much. See you then. Bye bye.
I see.
Bye
Yes.
bye.
Bye. Bye. And on that note, let me also say thank you to each one of you who has joined in, faithfully joining in every Friday, on the Stiletto Foodie show. Today was episode 6. I was so impressed and inspired by the mooncake that I had to, devote an entire show to it because, as I said, we need to start talking about our cultures and traditions and also, put the word out there to people maybe who don't know. And therefore, an entire show on mooncakes. As I said, I have lots of mooncakes also at home to eat. But before I sign off, I must announce the Sunday ID contest winner. So every Sunday, I have a contest that happens on my Instagram handle at Ethel Da Costa. It was a very, it was a Merdeka special contest because it is on August 31st, it is Malaysia National Day. And the contest was all based around it, in terms of which is the national dish, the national bird, and the national flower. Lot of responses that happened in. There were certain steps to follow. Those who followed, great, congratulations to you. And one special winner, of course, I had to pick up. And the winner of this particular contest is Ahmed Adlin Othman. Ahmed Adlin Othman, you are the winner of the Merdeka special contest that happened on my Instagram on last Sunday. Get in touch with me, connect with me, so we can, send the prize to you. The prize to you comes from Lapar by House. So Lapar by House has also been part of my Stiletto Foodie show. So he will put together an entire meal box and a mocktail for you and send it across to you. Enjoy it. Thank you for participating. Thank you to all of you who make the time to join the Stiletto Foodie show. Watch the entire show, which will be available on the Stiletto Foodie show page on replay. Share it with friends. Let them, also empower themselves with information. Food is world peace. Food can bring world peace together. Maybe we're the ones to push that entire agenda forward. Have a great Friday evening, a great Friday night, and be strong, be healthy, and resonate with love. Good night.